Before we start, there is one thing that's been bugging me for years, but I never fixed it. Hi, my name is Paul Davids, and apparently I've been playing this one Metallica riff wrong my entire life. And of course, it doesn't really have to be a big problem, but what if the riff is really way more interesting than the way I've been playing it all this time? The song came out in the year 1984 on the album Ride the Lightning, and it's called The Call of Cthulhu, and this is how I've been playing it. Doesn't sound that bad, right? If anything, chances are pretty big you played it exactly the same. I'm sure you've all seen it. You look up tabs, and especially for the more famous songs, there's always that one version, like with a massive 5-star rating. It always told me, I could safely assume, that it was the best tab, and with this song being released in 1984, any mistakes would have been fixed by now, right? So when we do look at this tab, it doesn't surprise me that this is probably exactly what I played. Well, I think I learned exactly this particular tab. When I was making my previous video, 10 riffs that taught me guitar, I actually wanted to include this very song. So after many years, I heard something different than what I remembered and than what I've always been playing. Very different. So where I just played an arpeggiated D minor chord like this, with an alternating bass, but still it's just a D minor chord. The original version, the original recording, which I can't play unfortunately, but it goes like this. There's that minor add 9 vibe in the song with the E on the second string, fret 5. I don't know the exact fingering, it could be like this. Or like this. There's more movement in just that one bar. It sounds way more interesting, doesn't it? So it's weird that that 5-star rated guitar tab is missing that very element in it. But that's not it, because what I did in the following measure, B flat over D, what he actually plays is this. How cool is that? Listen to the difference. So the way I've been playing it, boring-ish, to this version. So that's the sharp 11 kind vibe, is B flat with an E again. So he again adds that E to first the D minor chord and then to the B flat chord. I don't know if that much thought went into this. It's just a B flat with the sharp 11, the E. Which is a cool sound, very dissonant. So there's more movement again in that chord. B flat over D to B flat, sharp 11. Now here's the strange thing. Even Mr. Hetfield himself seems to have dropped that very element from his performance. I've watched over 5 live versions, and in neither of these he played that B flat with that sharp 11. He did the first thing with the D minor at 9. But that B flat, he didn't do that in any of those versions. I mean, it's his thing, and sometimes things just evolve, so it's not bad or wrong at all. It's just, it is remarkable. It surprised me that I was playing it wrong when I listened to the original recording and I looked up the live versions and I saw him playing or missing out that sharp 11th element in his live version. I don't know why he did that. Maybe it's just, you know, he liked this version better. It doesn't really matter. It's just, it's funny. So what's funny as well is I did 3 little surveys and I asked around how people learn songs. One on my Patreon page, one on my Instagram, and one here over on YouTube. And I asked whether or not people usually learn songs with tab or transcribe it themselves. On YouTube we've got over 10k of votes, so 10,000 votes, and 81% says I learn mostly from tabs or chord sheets, and 19% says I transcribe it myself. On my Patreon page it's 262 votes for learn mostly by tab or chord sheet and only 54 votes for transcribe myself. Roughly the same percentages, 80 to 20. So it's remarkable. On my Instagram, let me just check. So Do you usually learn songs from tab? 60% says yes, 40% says no. Interesting. Now we know a lot of folks refer to tabs when learning new songs, so I guess it's safe to say that many people learn this song off of this very tab. And judging by the rating, not that many people notice the errors in the intro. I mean, that tabs sometimes are a bit different than the records. I really don't care too much about that. It's always an interpretation and you can do stuff in many different ways, but just missing two awesome elements in the first 4 bars already. So here's a question. How much value can we give the ratings if it's being rated by people that want to learn the songs instead of people that know how the songs actually should be played? Guitar tab is one of the worst things that ever happened to the guitar, but also one of the best. It's easy for beginners to start out, which is just awesome, and it's super easy to pick up a guitar, rock out to your favorite song, but that same quality can also result into bad habits. Everyone can buy a guitar and start playing whatever, whenever, it just doesn't matter, without proper instructions. And this can result into, well, let me tell you that from my teaching days, the most difficult lessons to do where students came in with a set of really persistent bad habits that just were holding them back, and it was very difficult to get rid of those. But tab as a mere conveyor of information, I think that's brilliant, especially when you add rhythms to the tab, just like with notation. I think it's a very good learning tool. Standard notation for guitar is it's really hard to learn, which basically means that if you take lessons instead of starting out with Smoke on the Water, you probably learn Ode to Joy because the notation of the melody is easy. And I've seen guitar methods for kids based on notation, just boring AF, man. It's just, here's an example. If I would be a student using that method, man, I would be gone in a few weeks and just look up a tab of Call of Cthulhu and shred away. And of course I could have made this video about so many songs and so many tabs. I remember my students coming in with so many weird stuff and so many wrong tabs. It's crazy. And it would be very easy to jump on my high horse and say, don't use tabs, because, let's be honest, for most people the goal is to learn a song, and the quickest and easiest way to get there is to grab a tab and just learn the right notes and play. But it takes the heart and soul out of it a little bit. It's a set of instructions without the context, and if you follow the instructions you can play the song, if the tab is right. But the biggest downside is that people just stop to listen, apparently. How can so many people, including me back in the day, have missed these errors? It's strange. I'd like to make the following statement. Using tabs is the fastest way to learn a song, but definitely not the fastest way to learn guitar or music in general. There are just too many shortcuts, and there's too much key elements missing if you just solely resolve to tabs all the time. So let me know what your take on this is after gently strumming that like button. Anyway, use tabs or don't, whatever makes you happy. That's key element number 1. It's very important that you're happy and just, happy playing guitar. But don't forget that those ears will only get better if you put in the work. I used to not hear that I played it wrong apparently, and now it's very obvious to me that I do, so my ears are better than when I started out, so yeah, that makes me happy. So this is Paul, have a wonderful day and see you guys in the next one. Cheers. Yeah, it's a great riff. Wish I wrote it. Bye.